My name is Claire Morgan. I'm 30 years old, a senior brand strategist at an award-winning creative agency in Asheville, North Carolina. I live alone in a 2-bedroom condo with clean white walls, a vintage globe bar cart, and a rescue dog named Oliver who only eats grain-free organic lamb kibble. I like my life to make sense, minimalist, structured, controlled. I schedule my workouts a week in advance. I balance my books down to the last cent. I send birthday cards early and reply to emails within the hour, which is why what happened that weekend didn't just surprise Met cut something clean out of me. Not with rage, not even with grief, but with a numb, precise sort of clarity. It started with a text message. Me. Hey Mom, flying in Friday for your birthday weekend. Can you make sure the guest room's ready? Mom, oh sweetie, Aaron's in there now. Just crash on the pull-out in the den. That was it. No lead up, no apology. No, we didn't realize you were coming, or would it be okay if? Just, Aaron's in there now. You can figure something else out. The guest room that used to be my bedroom. The one with the bay window that let in the afternoon light just right. It's the soft cushions I used to curl up on after long track meets. The built-in bookshelf I stained with my dad one summer when I was 13. That room held more than furniture, held the echoes of who I was when I was still small enough to believe I mattered most. Now it was hers. Erin's, my cousin, her mother, my Aunt Lena, died in a car accident when we were 14. It was a cold February afternoon. I remember the phone call, the hush that fell over the house, and the way my mother's voice broke when she said, "We have to take her in. She's family." Back then I felt something close to pride. You're the kind of people who opened our doors in a crisis. And Erin, she was quiet, nervous, all bones and tear-stained cheeks. At first I even liked having her around. I shared my room. I let her wear my sweaters. I taught her how to French braid her hair. But over time, the lines blurred. Erin wasn't just a guest. She became something else entirely. By the time I turned 16, the narrative had changed. I was the dependable one. Erin was the fragile one. My straight A's were expected. Her by-me-ness earned praise, cupcakes, and a celebration. I did the dishes. She had too much on her plate emotionally. When I got my driver's license, I inherited Mom's old Toyota. Erin, a brand new Honda Civic with a red bow and just to lift her spirits scribbled on the card, "You're stronger, Claire," my mom would say. "She needs more support." The words carved a pattern. She needs. You provide. I didn't. Rebel. I didn't throw tantrums or demand fairness. I folded inward, told myself success would be the quiet revenge. I'd build a life they couldn't ignore. That would be enough. And for a while it was. I had a good life, a great one. 6-figure salary, health insurance, Roth IRA, dog with a better skincare routine than me. I paid off my student loans. I helped my parents cover part of their mortgage when Dad got laid off in 2018. I even Venmo'd Erin once when she overdrew her checking account trying to launch a mindful candle business. I didn't need a room in that house. I had an entire life elsewhere. It's what I told myself. But the moment I read that message just crash on the pull-out, something inside me shifted. The tone, the assumption, the casual dismissal of a space that had once been mine. It wasn't about the couch. It was about what it confirmed, that they'd rearranged the art furniture in their minds. Erin was home. I was not. I stared at the message for a long time. Not angry, just still. Then, without really thinking, I opened my laptop. My fingers moved before my mind could second-guess them. I typed, "Luxury short-term rentals near North Pine Ridge, Asheville." The second listing was a glass-wrapped rooftop suite in a newly built building 12 floors up, with a direct line of sight to the cul-de-sac where my parents lived. Floor tuzeling windows, rainfall shower, complimentary wine, $395 a night. 4 nights, no refund. I clicked reserve without blinking. Sometimes, taking back power isn't loud. Sometimes, it's quiet, soft, seamless. I packed that night only the things that made me feel sharp. My silk robe, my linen journal. A book I'd been meaning to read but never found time for. The bottle of Malbec I'd bought as a birthday gift for my mom. I didn't know exactly what I was walking into, but I knew what I wasn't walking into. A couch, a role, a story that only worked when I stayed silent. If they didn't want me in that house, fine. They'd have to watch me rise from across the street. Erin came to live with us when we were both 14. Her mom, my Aunt Lena, died in a freeway pileup on an icy November morning. The crash was in Kentucky, just outside of Louisville. I remember the phone ringing too early, my mother answering in a bathrobe, her voice cracking into disbelief. After the funeral, after the shock wore off, Erin came to stay with us for a while. That while became forever. She arrived with a small duffel bag, pale from grief, eyes wide and red. I gave her the bigger half of my closet, cleared out a drawer, shared my shampoo. I even told her she could use the stuffed bear on my bed. At the time, I thought I was being kind, and honestly, I was proud. We were doing something good, something noble. Erin needed saving, and we were her rescue. What I didn't realize at 14 was that you can give someone space without giving them your place. The shift was gradual, so subtle. I didn't notice it until it was already complete. Erin got her own room within 2 weeks. My parents said she needed stability. I was back to sharing a wall with the laundry room, the one with the squeaky vent and that awful hum every time the dryer kicked on. My posters were removed from the hallway to make room for Erin's framed watercolor paintings. I told myself I didn't mind at 15. I started mowing lawns and babysitting twins down the block to save for a used bike. That same summer, Erin got braces and a brand new comforter set in teal and gold to help her feel at home. Her orthodontist bills were just part of what Mom called her healing process. When I came home with a 4.0 GPA, my mom's response was, "Of course you did, honey." When Erin passed chemistry with a C-, "It's incredible, sweetheart. We're so proud of you." I watched her get praise for barely scraping by while I collected quiet nods for overachieving. Once, at dinner, I overheard my dad telling my aunt over the phone, "Claire, she's just more independent. Doesn't need as much." That line clung to me for years. I was the one who didn't need it. It was easy to say. Someone was strong when you'd given them no choice by the time high school ended. I had 3 part-time jobs and a full scholarship to a state university. Erin was struggling through community college, trying different majors like they were accessories: psychology, creative writing, nutrition, interior design. She eventually landed on communications. Graduated late, barely. I remember watching my parents beam as she crossed that stage. In a wrinkled robe, the photos went on the fridge. Mine had been tucked in a drawer. When I brought up how much her tuition cost, my mom said, "Sweetie, it's not a competition." Erin's had a rough road. And yet when Dad got laid off my sophomore year, I was the one wiring home money from my job at a call center, minimum wage, 20 hours a week while still pulling a full course load. They thanked me, of course, briefly, then turned their attention back to Erin, who needed encouragement to launch a handmade essential oil business on Etsy. I helped edit her listings. She never said thank you. Still, I told myself it was okay. I told myself I was the one who would make it. The one who would prove her worth the only way she knew how, by being so successful they'd have to see me. I kept climbing. First job out of college, a junior marketing assistant at a small agency, where I made cold calls and did admin work for clients who never learned my name. I stayed late, took every training. By the time I was 27, I was leading brand launches for Fortune 500 companies and consulting on identity strategy for influencers with millions of followers. I paid off my student loans, bought my first car outright, started building my retirement portfolio when I finally got promoted to brand strategist and moved into my sleek little condo overlooking the French Broad River. I thought maybe now they'll see me differently. They didn't. When I sent photos of my new place, my mom replied, "That's great, honey. Oh, by the way, Erin's starting a new chapter. She's going to co-host a podcast. I stopped trying to impress them after that. I smiled through holidays. I sent polite birthday cards. I Venmo'd for emergencies. I swallowed my stories too. Make room for Erin's next big almost, and slowly, year after year, I faded into something I didn't recognize. Not forgotten, just unnecessary present, but quiet. Trusted, but never chosen. Like a sturdy bookshelf in the corner of a room. No, one really sat in anymore. And maybe the saddest part? I let it happen. Until that message, that one casual, inconsiderate, got-level text that reminded me in 7 words or less that I'd been written out of the story long ago. I stared at the text. Just crash on the pullout in the den, and something inside me shifted. Not rage. Not even heartbreak. Just silence. Like the exact moment a glass shatters and the room freezes. It wasn't just about the couch. It was the way they said it. The ease with which my mother reassigned my place. The total absence of consideration, as if it were natural that Erin took precedence now. As if the room that once held my entire adolescence, the one I helped paint. It's the one where I cried into my pillow after every heartbreak and whispered affirmations into the dark before every test. It was never really mine to begin with. Just like that, it belonged to someone else. And I was supposed to crash. No, not this time. I opened my laptop, my fingers moving before my brain could fully catch up. I typed luxury short-term stays near North Pine Ridge neighborhood, Asheville. It felt impulsive, petty even. But then the second listing loaded. A newly built rooftop suite in a modern glass building no more than a few blocks from my parents' house. Floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek stone countertops, a soaking tub. A terrace with a direct, unobstructed view of their cul-de-sac. It cost $395 a night, no refund. For nights, I clicked reserve without hesitation. Sometimes power isn't loud. It isn't a slammed door or a shouted accusation. Sometimes it's as quiet as a mouse click. A silent, surgical reclaiming of your own dignity. I didn't respond to my mom. I didn't text Erin. I didn't even hint. Instead, I packed slowly, deliberately. My silk robe, a travel-size lavender candle I usually saved for high-stress work weeks. The hardcover novel I'd been meaning to read for 3 months. And the bottle of Malbec I'd picked up at a boutique wine shop downtown, the one I'd originally bought as a birthday gift for my mom. That, too, would stay with me. I wasn't planning to arrive angry. I wasn't looking to make a scene. But if they thought I was going to smile sweetly while I slept on an overworn pullout with lumpy cushions and a drafty vent humming over my head, they'd have to watch me instead, sleeping under chandeliers, drinking wine from a crystal glass, wrapped in peace they didn't offer. From 12 floors up, the house I grew up in would look smaller, quieter, distant, maybe even unfamiliar. But I was done shrinking to fit back into it. This time, I'd make them look up to see me. The sky was perfect when I landed. Gold sun, no clouds. I picked up the black Range Rover I rented, even though my sedan would have done fine. My mother had always loved appearances. When I pulled into the driveway, the curtain in the front window fluttered. Watching, she opened the door before I got to the porch. "Claire, you look so professional." I smiled. "Happy birthday, Mom." Then Erin appeared. No shoes. Wearing one of my old high school t-shirts. She pulled me into a hug like we were sisters. "So glad you're here. Hope the couch won't murder your back." I smiled coolly. I made other arrangements. She blinked but didn't ask. Inside, the house felt familiar, except it wasn't mine anymore. My senior photo gone. My soccer trophies replaced by Erin's beach Polaroids. My bookshelf painted over. My dad clapped me on the back. "Long time, kid. Good to see you. You could have visited." He nodded. "We've been helping Erin get settled. She's had a rough year." It was always about helping Erin. Dinner that evening. Was a quinoa something fusion dish that Erin proudly announced she'd whipped up after watching a 5-minute TikTok? She served it on mismatched ceramic plates and lit candles in the center of the dining table, like she was hosting her own wellness retreat. The house smelled like incense, something sandalwood-based, aggressive, clashing with the roasted vegetables. I sat at the end of the table, posture straight, quietly absorbing the space that used to feel like mine. Everything looked slightly unfamiliar, yet painfully recognizable. It was like stepping into a replica of a home I once loved. Only now it had been reorganized around someone else's story. The conversation, unsurprisingly, revolved around Erin. She talked about her upcoming podcast, Root and Rise, focused on healing through narrative. She described her dream of launching a clean skincare line made with essential oils and flower extracts. Something gentle for women like me who've had to rebuild, she said. She just needed one good shot. And the branding matters. So much, she added, looking directly at me. You'd get that, obviously. I didn't respond. My mom leaned in. I think it's lovely that she's finally channeling her experiences into something positive. Erin smiled, glowing under the praise like a flower turning toward the sun. You're so lucky, Claire, she said after a beat. You figured it all out so early. Not all of us had that kind of stability. I paused, set my fork down gently. My tone stayed level. It wasn't luck. I worked for it. Silence. The kind that shifts the air, my mother, never comfortable with confrontation, especially at her own table, quickly filled it with a brittle smile. We're proud of both of you, she said. You've each had your own path. Erin took a sip of her kombucha, then leaned in as if sharing a joke, and thanks for not making the room a big deal. I thought you might. I turned my eyes toward her and returned her smile. Cordial, I'm not staying here. She blinked. Oh, I booked the Rooftop suite across the street. Forks froze. Even the candle flame seemed to still. My father's brow furrowed. Wait, the new place? That suite costs almost $400 a night. I finished for him. But if I'm not welcome in the house I helped save during Dad's layoff, I figured I could afford to watch it from a better view. The words landed like thunder in a velvet room. No yelling, no drama. Just the soft, echoing truth of everything I had never said. My dad opened his mouth, but no words came. My mom's lips pressed together so tightly I could almost see the protest forming in her throat. Erin, for once, had no clever comeback. She looked at me like she didn't quite know what role to play now. No victim, no little sister banter, no accidental innocence. Just exposed. After that, dinner continued awkward, stilted, clinking silverware, and empty pleasantries. I ate slowly, out of politeness, not hunger. I declined dessert, no second glass of wine. No lingering. When I stood, I didn't announce it. I simply picked up my bag, smoothed the crease in my coat, and walked toward the door. No slamming. Number. Exit lines. Just presence and then absence. 20 minutes later. I stepped into my suite, glass, stone, light. The contrast was jarring in the most beautiful way. Here, everything was clean, ordered, intentional. A space that hadn't been redesigned to erase me. I kicked off my shoes and walked straight to the windows. The view was surreal. Across the trees, I could see the little rectangle of a window that once looked out from my childhood room. Now it glowed faintly, like a stranger lived there. Which, in many ways, one did. I poured myself a glass of wine. Malbec I'd packed hand stepped onto the balcony. The air was crisp and clear. The neighborhood below looked like a diorama. My parents' porch light was on. I could see silhouettes moving in the kitchen. My mother wiping down the counters, my dad passing her a dish towel. Erin curled on the sofa, her hands animated in conversation. They didn't notice me watching, but I saw everything. And for the first time, didn't ache for entry. I didn't want to be inside. I didn't want to belong. Something had clicked that night, not out of spite, but out of alignment. Something in me finally refused to keep folding smaller to fit. Inside a house that had already decided who got to stretch out, I raised my glass slightly toward the window across the way. A silent toast not to revenge, to freedom, to clarity, to finally choosing myself. The morning light turned the hardwood floors gold. I brewed coffee in a robe that cost more than my cousin's last credit card payment. Down below, life carried on. Sprinklers on, kids biking, Aaron taking selfies by my parents' porch. They didn't know I was watching. I journaled for the first time in months. They gave away my room, but they never really gave me space. Not love, not presence, not the right to exist without utility. Later, I ignored a text from Mom. Dinner again tonight. Erin wants to talk about her podcast. Then Dad called. Her investor dropped. Think you could look at her pitch? No apologies. It's just expectations. Still minding me like I was a family ATM, I turned off my phone and ordered room service. Eggs, berries, champagne when the server asked. Celebrating something. I said, yes. Clarity. My RSVP had been on the calendar for weeks. My mom's birthday dinner at an upscale bistro. I dressed with purpose. Fitted navy dress, red lip, simple gold jewelry, the version of myself they never celebrated. I arrived 15 minutes late. Every head turned, Aaron blinked. My mom tensed. My dad examined me like a project he didn't understand. I took my seat far end of the table, nowhere near the center. Sorry, my mom offered. The seats just filled. In naturally. Course, I said. The waiter poured wine. Aaron smirked. How's the suite? I smiled. Peaceful. Expensive. Bit much? No. Almost as much as losing your childhood room to someone who never paid rent. The table went still. Mom whispered, Claire, please. No, I said. Let's finally be honest. I stood with my glass. I've worked my entire life to prove I'm worth the same love you give, Aaron, without question. I paid for my degree, my car, my success. I paid off this house when Dad was laid off. And I got a pull-out in the den in return. Aaron looked away. I'm not mad anymore, I said. I'm just done. I set the glass down. I won't fight for a seat at a table I helped set. And I walked out. 2 days passed. Quiet bliss. Then a knock. The concierge said, a woman downstairs says she's your cousin. I met Aaron in the lobby. She looked exhausted, holding a folder. Please, she said, just 5 minutes. I let her speak. Tea? I didn't ask for your room, she said softly. I didn't know how to say no. That's the pattern, I replied. You don't ask. You just take. She slid the folder over. It's my proposal. You could help. No. Why? Because helping you always costs me something. She looked like she might cry. You always scared me, she whispered. You were strong. You never begged. I stood. I hope your startup works, but I'm not your ladder. The next day, a voicemail from my mom. You owe us a response. Don't make this worse. That word doke something final. I opened my laptop and typed subject. Boundarism, not a wallet. I'm not a fixer. I'm not a stand-in parent for Aaron. Don't contact me unless it's an apology. If you continue to involve me in her finances, I will seek legal options. This is not cruelty. This is clarity. I hit send, then I powered off my phone. The days passed. With a strange quiet, I walked by the lake, sat in cafes, slept better than I had in years. One afternoon, my grandmother called. Claire, she said, I'm proud of you. Some people don't understand that love isn't a right. I cried. For the first time, not because I was hurt, but because someone finally saw me. On my last day, the concierge handed me a handwritten note. Miss Morgan, thank you for staying. May you always find the peace you deserve. The Rooftop team. I looked. One last time at the house across the street. The curtains were shut. So were the doors. I climbed into the car. Back to the city, I said. My new apartment had hardwood floors and a view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The second bedroom was my home office. No drama, no couch beds, no debt I didn't sign up for. 1 day, a letter arrived with no return address, a check for $1,200, and a note. Claire, I cashed out the GoFundMe. No strings, no guilt. I'm sorry. Aaron, I fed it into the shredder. Because I didn't need repayment. I had peace. I spoke at a leadership seminar about emotional labor. Afterward, a young woman approached me. My brother always takes from me, she said. My parents say it's just family. She looked down. How did you stop feeling guilty? I told her the truth. You don't stop feeling guilty overnight, but you learn to value your peace more. She hugged me. And that hug stayed with me, not because it was dramatic, but because it meant my story mattered. And finally knew I never had to earn space again.